Dun, 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 dun. That's a intro song, I guess. That's the theme song for RPG Reviews for Therapy with me, Dwight. I'm the host and creator of the Broken Brain podcast and the proprietor of Innovate Mental Health Solutions. I am doing ongoing reviews of RPG and RPG adjacent or involving imagination types of games, particularly for self growth and therapy exercises. I have been become part of the growing number of people that are looking at the explosion of the popularity of RPG games as a great way to help process feelings, learn social skills, practice building and building community, new friends, all kinds of things. And there are some exciting applications for that. So I'm doing this series of brief reviews whenever I use something therapeutically. And in so doing, I'm going to talk to you about how the game is played, maybe pros and cons of how it goes. And then that ties naturally into how and what can you use this for to therapeutically help yourself, or if you're a therapist, to work with your clients and such too. So let's get into Roll for Shoes, everybody. Well, what is this? What in the world? Well, Roll for Shoes is a micro system, is what they call this. Something that is perfectly designed for one-shot campaigns, particularly those where the main goal is fun and community building and such. And this was a system that was developed by Ben Ray and WRAY. And if you go to rollforshoes.com, basically it goes right to these instructions that I'm showing you. That's where I got this from. And also it goes into, there's the links there for tools and ideas and things that you can use to make this work a little bit better. This is a system that doesn't tell you what to do. It tells you, you take charge of making a story for yourself and theoretically others. So there are 6 guidelines here. You're playing the game, you will say what you want to do, and you get to roll a d6 or multiple d6s. I'll tell you why in a second. When you roll, the sum of it is higher than what the GM or game manager rolls, the game master, rolls, then you get to do what you wanted to do. And if it's lower, you don't. And then they impose a penalty or something bad that happens. Very, very similar to lots of other simple systems. Everything that you roll is going to be only one. That's it. 1d6. That's all you get. When you roll for any skill at all. So let's say you encounter a new thing. Hey, there's a locked door. I want to kick it open, or maybe I want to pick the lock, or whatever that is. Like most games, you wouldn't necessarily roll if you're just going to knock on the door or try to convince someone to give you a key. Well, if you convince someone to give you a key, you would roll for that. So you know how it works. You only get to roll 1 dice. There's no stats. There's no pre-existing character creation. So you roll 1, GM rolls. The GM is going to roll usually 1, 2, or 3 dice, or 4 dice sometimes. Basically saying, is this an easy task, a moderately difficult, or very difficult? You could theoretically go up from there. You can kind of adapt this whatever you want, which is one thing that's nice about it. So you roll the dice, you see if you win. If you are able to win, then you get to do what you're going to do, like I said. Now, if you roll a 6, or as you gain more dice, if you roll all 6s, then the next time that you do that skill, you can have 2 dice to do it. So it incentivizes trying to come up with ways so if I'm going to get through the door, I want to find things that maybe I could reuse. Like if I do see someone nearby who has a key and I try to convince them, now I have a 2 in convincing if I roll a 6, right, as I go through that. If you do not succeed the roll, by the way, you get what they call an XP, or an extra point. You can use that extra point to turn one of your dice rolls into a 6. Not supposed to use that to advance or to win the task. It's after the fact. So basically you use it to change it to a 6 in order to advance that skill next time. Now, so there's that little bit of complication in the randomizer. I did this and found it to be pretty adaptable. So let's go into the kind of the pros and cons. This works very, very well if you're going to just kind of make up a story, even with very little preparation, because it's very collaborative and the people have a huge role in what happens, because they're the ones that are going to decide what they're going to try to roll for. I did this with my social skills group that I do every Saturday for teens. When we played it, I simplified it even a little more, not for any reason other than just time management. In order to get them rolling more dice quicker, we just said if you win, then the next time you try that specific task, you can roll 2, or then 3, or then 4, and then you can add that on. I think we capped it at 4, and I said the GM wouldn't do any more than 4, or something like that. One of the pros then is it's very highly adaptable if you want to twist or change it up or whatever kind of thing. Once again, this one's based off let's move through this story and let's have a good time. It really, really triggers other people's inventiveness. I came up with the premise of, okay, all of you are vampire hunters. It's in October when I'm taping this. And so I said, everybody's a vampire hunter. Now you found out there's a vampire who is hiding in a local Comic-Con. You arrive at the Comic-Con and you see a sign up by the door that says vampire costume contest today, $100 prize. So you got everything's lousy with vampires or vampire variation costumes. That's it. And then they get to roll 1 for any task they want to do. And once again, in the way we did it, if you won, then you got 2 dice the next time. So they had to come up with skills and ways to find a vampire. And that was pretty fun. I actually did this one time with my 9-year-old daughter when we were looking for something to do. And she loves the idea of like role-playing games and D&D. And we've done some like D&D variants and things that she really enjoys. So we grabbed a bunch of dice. And by the way, these are D6s, your regular kind of dice. If you're ever looking, you can buy those all over the place, obviously. But if you get the game Tenzi, that comes with a big tube of lots of dice that you can use as well. And so, that's a way to get a hold of a lot of D6 if you want. And there was a puzzle sitting on the dining room table that was all done. And it showed this little town, this picturesque fall kind of town, pumpkins and stuff all over. And so I had her grab a bunch of little tiny toys, and she picked little dragon to be the one that was her. And we kind of scattered them out on this puzzle. And I kind of just made it up as we went. Here's this haunted little town. She was a dragon because she loves dragons. Want to be a dragonborn person. If you know that, you know that. And worked her way through this town, asking people questions. So she got to roll to see if they were telling the truth or not. Some of the skills that she developed were climbing barns, splitting pumpkins. And so then trying to figure out a way to use that again became very fun. So those are the pros. It triggers a lot of inventiveness. It is something that also gets people really laughing and being silly together. When we did the vampire game, one of the kids decided he was going to throw cloves of garlic into the crowd. Another one said he was going to put on a costume, a cosplay, in this case as a nun, so he could carry a cross and pretend to bump into people and see what happened if they shied away or whatever. So they came up with fun ways to find a vampire in a crowd of people dressed as vampires. So were other cons? The downside? Well, I don't know. Not really. It's very, very highly adaptable. But I will say the one thing I found is if you don't have a long time to play, it did simplify it to just say if you win the roll, you get 2 or you add 1 dice next time. It did make it go a little quicker for them to develop skills that they could reuse. So I would say that little hack is nice if you don't have a lot of time or if you have people that are kind of new to this and if they're going to find the XP and the D6 plus or have to roll all 6s, if that's going to be something with a young kid or people who just aren't into the RPGs. But one of the nice things is if they're not that into RPGs, this is something you can do and you can tell them the rules in in 5 minutes we were up and playing when I did this with both the situations I just said. So it's fun. And once again, as I've said in the other review videos, fun is going to teach more than something that's designed to teach, generally speaking, if you do it right. So what have I used with this therapeutically? Well, I just gave you some examples. And one of the things that is very, very good about this is communication, also obviously social skill practice, building community, like so many games. But this is also something where you're really going to use your head for problem solving, and it can even lead to confidence. And also using humor with other people will bond people, whether it's a group therapy setting or your family or just a bunch of friends. Everybody likes to be smart. Everybody likes to be funny. And this game does develop the ability to be both. So I think, give it a try. Go to rollforshoes.com. It's just free. Ben Ray just put it up there for people to use. And there's some links to know about his work and things like that as well. I can only imagine if he came up with this, he's probably a pretty imaginative person. I don't know anything else about him. If you want to go to dwighthurst.com/RPG, unless you're already here and that's where you're watching this, you can see a bunch of other detailed things. I've written a couple of these one-shot campaigns that I've put up there. There's links to other RPGs. And I am putting together groups for both Social Skills for Teens is ongoing. And also, we've got some groups that are starting out now that are focused on, for adults, for processing emotions, maybe even processing trauma and addiction, basically, and for individual journaling and other things like that. So for individual therapeutic interventions, and also for a group, in order for people to use character creation and group dynamic to help in a way that you might find to be helpful, particularly if you find it intimidating to go through some traditional therapy, talk therapy and things like that. Or if you just want to mix it up and maybe RPGs are a way you express yourself anyway. So go to dwighthurst.com/RPG if you want to get involved in that, if you'd like to look into signing up for groups and things as well. Thanks very much for watching this. I'll be back. I'll use another review of something that I use therapeutically in this framework again. Hope you all have a wonderful